Before you do that, Santis, do I have permission to share my screen on there?
Yes.
Awesome.
All right. So let's get started with a word of prayer. Father, thank you so much for time together. Thank you for this incredible group of leaders. God, we just are thankful for the opportunity we have to serve in these spaces and to be able to serve alongside of each other and to really be um, just those builders of relationships and helping to point students to their calling and um, in every level, whether it be the discovery, the development, or the deployments. So we trust all this time into your capable hands. Use it for your glory, and we trust you with the results. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So just to by way of introduction, like one of the things we wanted to do is we had an incredible time at Follow, right? And Tyler, I don't know if you all know Tyler Sanders, who's part of the staff at IWU, and Clay have done an incredible job of building this platform. Um, Part of my role has been just kind of casting vision for it, helping to raise funds to sustain it, and organizing some leaders to kind of envision what it looks like. Most of that has been our DYPs, our district youth pastors, and some of our camp directors, as well as some of our university leaders have spoken into the how and the why. And so we took that and just started building. And you can see the platform as it is currently constructed is what we're utilizing, and we're very excited about having so many students respond to the call at Follow. I think the number was at like 470 or somewhere around there in terms of cards. We've had over 500 jump on the platform, and somewhere around, Clay can give the exact number, there's somewhere around 200 or so who have said we want connectors. We want to kind of take the next step. We recognize that some of our students who have responded to the call or put in those cards, they already have connectors. They already have mentors. They're at their local church and they've already been identified. And so some of those students kind of, we want their local church to be that, right? But then we have some situations where, because of the number of students or because of just the dynamics at that particular local church, or they're not connected to a local church, that we want to make sure that there are loving, faith-filled leaders who can come alongside of them. And so that's where the connector and mentor side of this comes in. And so you're kind of one of the first lines of defense, if you will, for the next step in this process. And so in some ways it may feel like, 2 months out, almost 2 months out from Follow seems far, but one of the reasons why we gave that time is so that the local church could do what the local church does. And we're there to kind of come alongside the local church. We're not here to replace it. And so that's kind of the step that we're at right now. So I want to pass things over to Clay. As I said before, Clay is one of the masterminds of building this platform, him and Tyler. He is one of our newest staff members as the digital discipleship resource catalyst. And these are the kinds of things that his role helps to bring to our team. And so I'm very grateful for him, very grateful for the work he's done. And he's going to lead most of this training. And so I'm going to pass it over to him.
Awesome. Thanks, Santis. Yeah, so I am going to put in the chat real quick the link to follow the call. Let's see if that link actually works. But I'm not going to assume, because life is busy, that we all have had a chance to check it out. And so first thing I'll kind of do is I'm going to share my screen and just give you guys a chance to see what is this thing that we've been kind of making. So first, if you go on and have a chance to sign up, or if you haven't yet, there's an explore button as well. But when you get in, what you're going to see is something that says begin your journey. And this is kind of the whole theme that we have behind this of How can we help equip students really at a confusing time where they might have felt something at a camp or anywhere at Follow, but then they get back to their real life and it's hard and it's confusing. And what does calling mean then? And so really, it kind of works like this. They'll come down. One of the first things that they'll be presented with is, would you like to be paired with a connector? Someone who's experienced in some sort of ministry, and will kind of guide you through your experience on Follow the Call. And also if you're wanting that, your experience in discerning your call. And so as they progress through, what's been a part of the platform so far is these resources. We've worked with Matt Irvin and people who developed Quest, which is an amazing resource that was already there. And so we worked to help update that with videos, engaging like media as they go through, that helps present 3 characters as they go through, of Mary and Paul and Stephen, and the unique ways that they were all called, but they expressed their calling different. And so really the idea is to help give language, like, what is a calling? What does it mean to be called? How do I know? How do I know if I'm fulfilling my call? All these questions. And so what the rest of these resources are is different levels of engagement as they go through. So we have one on Bible engagement, reading the Bible for regular people. And then as you go down, spiritual practices, starting with prayer and silence and solitude. Other resources on calling from like Indiana Wesleyan and other partners. An amazing resource from Dave Smith, again, on scripture. And then also what's happening in as far as ministry education, just some of the beginning parts of that. We're looking forward to doing more with this, but some information about our schools, what our universities are like, things that are happening, camps and events that are happening across the country, and then our nonprofit partners, Global Partners and World Hope, Immigrant Connection, and Hepzibah, and so that's kind of the large overview of what's been. But what we're doing now is this section on the left here, where we're really saying, okay, there's your journey and there's your future, but your guide is really important. And so what happens is there's a space dedicated just for me, right? Clay Crawford's mentor. And this is a space, a monitored space where a mentor or connector can message with the student. They can communicate only them two, and then our admin can see what's happening on this space, but it's all right on platform. And so they can, go right from that to Quest, to other things that are happening. And so the idea is that every student who has registered for a connector will have their own space with somebody who knows their story, who's getting to know them, and can ultimately help them process what does calling mean so far? What are they discovering? What doesn't make sense yet? All of those things. So I'll stop sharing for 1 second to kind of, I'll put another thing in the chat. Any questions, by the way, about the platform, what it's about, just off the bat, before we get into some of the deeper things of what does it mean to be a connector to help students?
Is this just on website form, or is it also on an app form?
Yeah, great question. It is also an app form. So when you log on to Follow the Call, it'll ask you as one of the first things, hey, do you want to download the app? And we encourage students to do that. But also for you as a connector, I really suggest that you also download the app as well. And from the website, you can download the app right there.
Okay. So then if they're messaging the mentors and such, they can get notifications on their phone, kind of like a message. Okay.
Exactly. So the idea is that that they are able to message in a normal way, like they would on Instagram or any other place. But in all of these spaces, we have access as admin to make sure everything's happening for safety of everybody. And that, as you'll see, has been one of our challenges of saying, okay, how do we do this in a way that's safe, but is also engaging? And so we'll talk about some of the other ways to engage students as we get down to that. But we think this, for now, this is the best option, to keep it on the platform. And yeah, so, and then hopefully it's like you would normally students are used to on Instagram or Snapchat or those sorts of digital messaging.
Clay, could you help me understand the transition from mentor to connector?
Yes.
Please.
And I think I can answer that right now, and then I'll answer that more also as we get
Oh,
down.
I can wait. I can wait. That's
Oh,
good.
no,
Sorry.
it's great. So we've been using the language of connector and mentor primarily as a way of kind of distinguishing between the first kind of door greeters, the people who are welcoming the student in, helping them guide in the beginning. And then mentors is a sort of long-term connection with the student. So that's what we've been using. But in the moment, as this kind of, we're really launching this for the first time, we are kind of focusing on, okay, the connector, those in the HQ, Global Partners, and all this connected people, they're going to kind of be a little bit of both for right now, and saying, okay, we have these 200 students, and we're going to kind of focus on, you are their kind of mentor for the moment, whatever that looks like, whatever stage they're kind of willing to go in that way. And so that is sort of the ideal, is that as we continue the platform, we would have people, connectors, who are just, hey, I'm just introducing the student. And what's great about the platform is that we can actually add people very easily to this. And so you can see the members on here. You have me, and then my test, and then the follow admin team. And so a mentor who'd say, okay, the connectors told me there's a student who, man, they've been discerning that missions is really important. So we think it's important to connect with somebody in Global Partners. And so the idea is that that can be easily transferred. But I think for now, the goal is to really connect with these 200 students who have been waiting, and we want to make sure that they have somebody right now. And so, yeah, and I'll be able to go through kind of what that looks like to be a connector, to be a mentor.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. Yeah.
Another way to think about it is like the connector is someone who could become a mentor. Right? They could easily become the mentor once they've gotten to know the student, or they may find that there's someone that might be a better option in our group of mentors. So it's a both and. Connectors can continue, but they don't have to. They're like that first line when people come into the platform.
Yeah, great question. Great. Well, I'm going to share in. Now, if you are a person that likes to look as you listen, this might be helpful. Sharing Google Doc in here. This is kind of the instruction manual. And this is what just kind of give you the very basics of quickly what the goal of a connector is, and then kind of some ideas and encouragements and guidelines for interacting with students. So, Santis, would it be better if I shared my screen to read this or to go through it, or do you think? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, great. We'll do that. Great. So I'll just kind of go down the beginning. So the goal of the connector, to learn students' stories, to see how God is working their lives, and to come alongside them in their journey of understanding, living out their call. The kind of thing that Santis mentioned is that you may find that as you're talking with a student, you make a real connection with the student. And that's going to be really important. You go, man, I think God has placed this person in that whatever way I can come alongside of them as they're coming through high school or wherever they are. But whether it is a mentor or a connector, the core kind of tenets of hearing the students, in the beginning, just to do the beginning work of processing with them. Okay, have you felt something? Have you heard something? Do you not know yet, but you really feel, you felt like you wanted to come on this platform? That's kind of the beginning stages. So I kind of went through a little bit. So as a student, when we get the request from a student, they would like a connector, they will be assigned that mentoring space. And then both you and the student will be invited to that space, and it'll have the student's name. So I had my name, Clay Crawford, if I'm the student. It wouldn't be, now, if the student's name was Zach, it wouldn't be Clay's, it wouldn't be my name. It would have the name of the student on there you can look for. And so on Follow the Call, you'll get a notification that will say, hey, you've been invited by the Follow admin team to come onto this space. And then after you and the student have accepted the invite, you'll have access to that space I show where there's the chat. We can talk with them. And I know for me, one of the things was like, oh my goodness, I have to introduce myself to a bunch of students. Do I do it differently? So we've actually included a first template you can look at of like, you don't have to use this exactly. This is helpful of like, hey, this is who I am. I work with Follow the Call in the Wesleyan Church. Kind of, this is why I'm doing this a little bit. And if you're up for having a mentor, this is where that can start. And so, yeah, you don't have to use this, but this is probably be helpful for some of us. And once you kind of get that message, it'll be, you can use that for other students as you begin, before you begin to have a kind of unique conversations. Yeah, so the idea is that you can introduce yourself, and if they go, yes, this is what I was hoping for, right? And you may have some students who say, 2 months ago I registered, but I didn't really know what I was doing, and I have somebody. And hopefully they may go, I have a youth pastor who's doing this exact same thing, and we're going through Quest together. And that's all right. That's totally all right. And I'll show you guys later how to fill in to say, hey, this is where I am. This student said no. That's totally great. But if they say, yes, this is great, this is something that I do want, this is where the Quest resource is going to be really helpful, because it's going to help those questions. What is calling? What is my calling? How do I know? How do I fulfill it? And so, yeah, I'd encourage, can you guys still see my screen here?
Yep.
On this page? Great. And so this is where at the end of these sections, there'll be questions that you can talk through with the student. There'll be questions of, man, what did you connect with in Mary's story and Mary's calling? Different prayers. As you go through, I know students will resonate with the different characters in unique ways. And so what we want to do is not really make you guys feel like you are creating all of this on your own. You are trying to create curriculum on your own or a vision for the student immediately, but really saying, hey, when you begin a conversation with a student, you have this. You have Quest as the way to say, hey, have you gone through this? This whole thing takes 45 minutes to an hour to go through the whole thing. So it's not a super big commitment. And I actually would encourage you guys, if you, I think it's engaging content anyway, but to go through and to look at the Quest content yourself and to see, okay, this is what students are thinking about. This is some of the language that we're using around calling. So that would be my encouragement, is to go through, look at what's going on, and then be able to encourage students and walk with them through some of these questions. It's a great way to start, connection with the students. So real quick, any questions on Quest as a resource, or kind of making that initial connection on the platform?
Can I say this, Clay? I think one of the things we'd encourage, as Clay said, we don't want you to feel like you have to do any creating. Like this site is to curate. But if there is a unique way in which you feel led to work with a student through
Mhm.
call in a way that has been effective for you or you sense might be a different path, that's something that we welcome. But we want you to know you don't have to create anything. Like the videos and the questions, they're all right here. But if there is a situation, and there are those situations, right, where you kind of have to go off the beaten path to develop that rapport and have those conversations, then we welcome that. But this would be the first place we would say to start.
Yeah, no, thank you for mentioning that. I think what's good is that, again, if you have a chance to go on the platform and look at these different resources, there would be some student who goes, hey, like I've gone through Quest, or I've looked at it, and like I'm not really wondering those questions. But I need somebody to help me understand what the heck is going on with the Bible. Right. Like I like that's a real hang up for me. Or prayer, or there is other resources on here that you can go through with the students. And so, yeah, that's what I also encourage too, whether it is you have something you've done with a student before, or someone you've mentored, or whether it is looking on the platform and seeing some of the other resources that the student can easily have access to. So, yeah, feel free to be creative, but don't feel the pressure to do it all on your own. That's what this is for. So then let me share then the next part of it, which is, okay, so you've been on this platform, you've connected with the student somehow, and you've started messaging. But you'll probably find for a lot of students, one of the challenges is that messaging cannot always be a great way to build trust and connection. So you'll probably find with a lot of students, they're much more used to video conversations. And honestly, a lot of the face-to-face connection that we're used to, that's one of the challenges that we're doing this virtually. So we know there's going to be challenges right off the bat. We know there's challenges to this, but we do feel that for many students, it's worth it to kind of work through some of the challenges of how to do a video meeting well with a minor. Like just right off the bat, we're honest about it. That has a challenge. We feel it's worth it. Like students of my generation and younger are yearning for face-to-face. And they're yearning for someone to, even if it is virtually, to kind of look into their eyes and to see them in a way. And so that's what kind of makes it worth it. So here are a couple things that we'd encourage. Obviously this allows for someone to, for you to look at a curriculum together, live for experience. It helps to process conversations more naturally. And then really encourage, pray with the student. Like if you feel like you've not done anything else successfully, like praying with them, having someone who says, I want to pray with you. Life's complicated. I want to pray with you. That is a successful conversation. You did it. Like that is amazing. So now how does that actually happen? I think we have a few requirements, which I think will help bring the safety of everybody involved. So first, we ask that all video meetings, if the student is okay with that, if that's what they're wanting, that those all be done over Zoom and then recorded locally on your computer. So you record all the meetings you have. And then when that meeting is over, you can upload it to a shared Dropbox folder. And so when we send all this information out in email, it'll be secured and all the Dropbox information will be there. So you'll have a meeting, you'll record it, and then you'll upload it. So that way you're secure, you're safe, the student is safe, and then we as admins can also be secure looking back. Yeah. And then the second one is that if a student is younger than high school, and this is one where it's kind of fuzzy, right? Because we don't want to just say if you're younger than high school, then it's too much of a risk and we don't want to really engage with you as a student. But we want to also be aware. And so our suggestion is that if a student is younger than high school, encourage them to have a parent or a guardian join them for the meeting as well. We won't have by any means, we'll have much more high schoolers, but some of you may have a middle schooler who's figuring out, okay, I'm already feeling a call. I'm trying to figure out how to discern that. We want to honor that. We want to honor what God is doing in their life, while also understanding that maybe they have to have the conversation in a little different way, just for safety. So any first questions? I know this will be questions about this section. Any first questions about engaging with students in different ways?
This sort of fits into that, sort of doesn't. Some of us are based in different areas geographically. Are you considering or doing anything based, like assignment wise, based on geography at all?
That's a great question. Right now, no. So that has been a conversation that we've had. And we definitely want to be in contact with the churches because we have the information of like, what church are you from? And so we have some information. But at the moment, we're keeping it all virtual. But I'll let you speak to that, Santis. We haven't fully decided in the future, but for now, I think it is going to be staying virtual.
Yeah, it's a great question, Mindy. I think the future of mentoring could include a geographical consideration. And that's something that we have to kind of assess based on kind of person to person. We don't want to make it a rule. But if we have a leader that we know is like 10 minutes from where that person is, that would be a great mentor, then we want to make that connection. The other thing that we're trying to do on a case by case basis is we also don't want to make a rule that it's always a woman that is with a young lady and it's always a man that is with a boy. We believe mentoring can happen across gender lines, but we also want to be very sensitive in that regard as well. It's not a rule, but most of those situations will be guy to guy, woman to young lady. But there may be some situations where we're like, based on what we understand in this scenario, this is a leader that we would put that would cross gender lines. Now, in communicating that, we want to make sure we're in touch with parents and that they're aware that we've made that decision so that they're aware of some of the barriers or boundaries that we put in place for that. But yeah, geography and some other considerations are things that we're thinking through. It's amazing how like the idea of creating this is one thing, and then once you create it, there are all these like details of adults and minors that you have to factor in. And so that's been part of our delay too, is to make sure some of those things are thought through well.
Great question. I saw in the chat, Amy, you said it would be time zone considerations. That is something I had not thought of. That's a great question. Santis.
Yeah, I think it's definitely time zones, because we're going to have people not just in the US, but we're going to have people all over the world serving as mentors. And so those are questions we'll have to ask of the mentors so that we're aware of how to connect them with students, that it wouldn't be a major issue. But that's going to be part of it. And we're thankful that Global Partners has jumped in and is willing to help in this way. And so we anticipate a ton of folks around the world, but it'll also be, the time zones here in the US. But yeah, we can figure that out.
Yeah, great question. Great question. Yeah, any other questions about the beginnings of kind of interacting with the student, messaging them, and then and then possible meetings over Zoom? Cool. Cool. Yeah, we just, and honestly, one of the things is like, is just to kind of like, the kind of things that you would think about when you meet a student, in person, those things sort of apply. And so if you do happen to be in an office, that's great, where there are other people around, or those sorts of things. And so yeah, anything that makes a student feel comfortable, and honestly, this is where the discernment process comes in for you guys of, okay, I've messaged with this student and they seem like they're really engaged, or they're wanting more, or that, and okay, are they wanting, whether they explicitly say it, or whether you say, hey, would you want to have a one-on-one meeting? And so, yeah, that's where we're kind of, use prayerful and creative engagement in the best of your ability. So, but we're excited. That's hopefully the overall tone is that I'm more excited about the possibilities of students who previously wouldn't be able to connect someone, say from Global Partners, right? Now they can. There's opportunities for somebody that is connecting with somebody who's been in ministry, or somebody that knows maybe some can understand them. And so I'm very excited overall by what this can be.
Let me throw this out too. This came as a question directly. So one of the reasons why we're starting with folks that are a part of Global Partners, CMAD, Follow, Executive Team, Next Gen, is because we know you've already been background checked. And so what will happen as we move into the mentor phase, every mentor will be background checked. We will verify their background check with their district or their local church. So just know that that's an added layer of safety, so that we can say to all parents, everyone has been background checked, all video calls are recorded, and if you ever feel the need to view one, we will make that available to you. So all those kind of things are ways to communicate safety, and not just to protect the student, but also to protect you as a connector and as a mentor.
Yeah. Great. So then, so some more like the tangible stuff of like, okay, how do I know who's there? A few students have been assigned to me. How does that work? So what we have here is a shared document that everyone will be able to see who's on the team, and they will be able to see. I'll actually open it up real quick. You guys should be able to see it. There you go. Hopefully that's coming through for everybody, right? Awesome. Okay. So if you see here, so the connector name, and then to the right, in these spots, you have the students who have been assigned to you. And so, this is all just an example that I've been working on. But hopefully by the end of the week, when we send all the kind of information with the links and everything out, one of the things that will be is people who have agreed to be a connector mentor, their names, along with students who've been assigned to them. And what's important for us, not only do you have just the names here and the information, some of that you could already get when you've been invited to the space. So if you go on Follow the Call, when you are on the space, you'll receive an invitation to be on that same space with that student. So you'll know that way. But this is more so specifically so that we can make sure students aren't falling through the cracks. So that when you receive the student, say after you've reached out, you sent the messages, you can say, yes, I've reached out. And then later, okay, has the student responded? And then if not, if after we're given about a week, a student hasn't responded to the invitation, but they did. These are all students who did ask for a connector. We want to make sure that they know maybe the app got deleted, maybe things have happened. So there's their phone number here, just to do an initial text to say, hey, again, there's a template on the sheet as well. Hey, I'm your connector. I work with the Wesleyan Church here. If you'd like to talk more, come on this platform. And so that's all that message will be. It won't be talking with the student over message. It'll just be a send out as a reminder to them. And then you can fill out. And then ultimately, do they want a connector still or not? And then you can say yes or no. That way we know, okay, what's going on with the student? Are they being connected with somebody? What's happening? So this is kind of the site that you can check and help us make sure no students fall through the cracks. So it should be 2 documents. So the one document right here, the guide, and then the Google Sheets of the assignment list. And that will be updated hopefully by the end of the week.
And there may be a small tweak, like as I think about students, like we may want to say, working closely with Follow, the event that you just attended or something like that. Like some students may not know that we're the Wesleyan Church, right? So that may be a minor tweak. They will be more familiar with the event Follow than they would be our denomination. So that would just be a minor thing in communication. They will remember Follow. They may not remember the Wesleyan Church. It's FYI for some folks.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why, so both of those messages templates are on there. So the space message of the My Mentor space, and then if they just haven't been on the platform and don't know that they've been assigned a connector, here's again a message template, very similar, but just tells them, hey, here's where to go to follow the call. Here's what it is. Because they already know what follow the call is, but it's just a reminder that they've been invited to accept that My Mentor space. Yes, let's see. Any questions about this page and just like the information? I know it's hard because you don't have your names aren't on there yet, but if you can imagine your names on there when you're looking across, any questions about connecting with the student?
I actually have a question going backwards about the Zoom platform.
Yes.
Are we being provided with a Zoom account to use? Are we expected to use our personals? What's the thought on that?
Yeah, the idea is if you guys would be willing to just use your personal account and then just record that locally to that.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't pay for a membership, and I'm not sure if on the free membership you can record, though, is the only concern I have.
Oh, okay. I believe you. Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to record on a free membership.
You can? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
But it's all, but it is only 40 minutes.
It is.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, so that is, I mean, and to be honest, we're not expecting 40 minutes is a long time for a conversation, right? We're not, I mean, if the conversation is going great and you have time, sure, start a new meeting after that and get in contact with them. But I believe it can record locally, and 40 minutes should be a good amount of time. That's very generous already.
Yeah, I would say a general rule of thumb is your meetings are probably going to be 20 to 30 minutes, and you're probably going to have 1 or 2 a month. 2 would be generous, right? But you're probably going to have about 1 or 2 a month, and then if you can record, we'd encourage you to record locally. If that is an issue, just let us know and we'll figure out another solution for you. But that's kind of the general rule we're having for everyone, to do it that way.
Awesome. Thank you.
Good question.
I have a question. I just want to make sure I understand correctly, Clay. So right now we are connectors and mentors. Is that what you said in the beginning?
Yeah, so the idea is that we will get to a point where we include more people in the pool, right? To where there is the possibility to directly hand that off to somebody else. If you say, okay, I think this person needs this mentor. But the idea right now is that we have these students who is manageable for the, how big the, HQ, Global Partners and team kind of expands. And so, yes, you're kind of doing both roles at the moment.
And so if we know of people who would be good mentors, how do we get them connected? Do we send them to you? Like, how do we say, like, I can think of several people that I want to go to and say, like, we have kids that are called to missions. You've been in missions or, like have been on the field. Would you be willing to be a mentor? How do we do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we want you to do that. So
Yes.
one of the things that we kind of established at the beginning is that we would find somewhere between 50 to 75 connectors / mentors. And then once we've established that group, which is mostly the people who are part of, CMAD, Next Gen, Global Partners, HQ, and then some DYPs, some university folks. And then we would expand and say, okay, who are the 3 to 5 people that you would say need to be in the connecting, mentoring space with us? And then you make that invite, and we have a link that we'll send you that you can give that person or those individuals, and then they will connect with either Tyler or Clay through the platform. There's a link that we can add them easily. Here's where it's going to shift, right? Like there are strategic moments over the next several years where we'll get a lot of ads, meaning additions of people. So the word is going to get out again at Exponential. We're going to share it there. Camps are coming June and July primarily. And our hope is that this platform and our cards that we handed out at Follow will be available to every camp. And that at camp, at some point, there would be a call to ministry, and that these cards could be handed out. And then we'll start to get more and more and more students that'll start coming in June and July. And then, as there'll be winter retreats and different things like that, where our hope is that this would be one of the places where all of our churches, all of our districts would send people as they make that call. And of course, in 25, we'll have a ton of people coming through the regional conferences or the Empower Tour. So, but we want to get as many of us in place now to navigate Follow's responses. And then in March and April, get mentors in place ready for the camp responses. That's kind of the way we're going right now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so feel free to, if you have like people names, you know what I mean? Like, and you're like, I'm gonna forget them or things. Kind of what we're kind of saying is also the bottom of the page here, my email. Really, any questions that you have in the future, direct them towards me, send them my way. Yeah, there's no bad questions, especially when we're kind of pioneering in this way. So yeah, that's one of the exciting things is we know that there are so many good people that are going to be effective mentors and connectors. And so, yeah, we're just doing that in a way that is hopefully at a pace that we can work with.
I think of equal importance to us is if you see like something in the process or on the platform that needs a tweak or that needs to be rethought, we welcome that constructive criticism. Like this is the first time, we've built something like this. And so there'll be opportunities for improvement, and don't feel like you have to hold back. We want to hear from you if there's something you see or something you notice that either hasn't been addressed or is something that we just need to make a change. We welcome your feedback.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. This is, we should not be shy about the fact that this is pioneering work, and that this is not something that one we've done before, or and so yeah, there's going to be things that we go, that's went better than we ever thought, and there's going to be probably things that we go, okay, let's try again, we'll get back on the horse, but hopefully with some important things about safety and its other things. We always want to be learning, but the goal is for us to kind of get out ahead of that. But again, in that area especially, if there are ideas you have or questions you have, please do not hesitate. That's really important to us. Yeah.
I have a
Yeah, go ahead, Carla.
You may have said this in a different way, so I apologize and just say you already answered it. But one of the connections, I think you hope is that we connect all of these students to a local church at some point, knowing that not all of them are connected right now. Are you providing this overview to like the next gen pastors? So even if they're not able to be a connector, they know about. So then just helping us bridge the gap between us here and the local church, because I feel like we do this students a disservice if I'm the only connection that they end up having with the Wesleyan church. So I'm just wondering what your what your process is to help the next gen pastors or even senior pastors or however that'll look to know about this.
Yeah, we're planning to do several rollouts of just how to use this platform or when to use this platform or how to troubleshoot certain things. So some of them will be on the platform. Some of them will be offered outside of it. But yeah, part of the hope is that we'll have several on-ramps for people at different stages, whether it's a DS or a local church pastor or a next gen person, to be able to see, okay, this is something I can watch, or this is something, a webinar I can jump on, or other ways to kind of educate. It's a unique tension, right? Because we don't want to replace the local church or the local next gen person. We want to come alongside of them. But like when you come alongside and you're running alongside, you do some of the same things, right? And so the difficult part is helping people distinguish when handoffs are needed. And that's where it gets a little tricky, but we'd rather be in the tricky space than not be in the space at all. So yeah, great question. And we also, I think we also, Carla, we probably need to be thinking, we talked about this a while ago, but like figuring out how to include parts of ECD in this, right? Whether it be a licensing process or whatever that we create for younger students, but something that helps them to understand how to take the next step in whatever that might look like for them. So we're early, still figuring some of that out, don't have that language yet, but I think we can begin to craft it as some of this gets built out. But excellent question.
Yeah, I would just say, Clay, for future conversation, maybe there will be a time for me to connect you to the DBMD chairs. So that might be a great way to connect. So we'll talk later.
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. But yeah, one of the first videos that we're going to be making to answer your question is a video for youth pastors, how to use Follow the Call with your students, right? Because it's a platform that doesn't require, what's great about it, and just this also a question people ask, when you sign up for Follow the Call, there is no digital messaging feature between people that are on Follow the Call automatically. So there is no danger in the platform literally at all if 20 people who don't have anything to do with Follow the Call sign up for Follow the Call, because they can use all of the resources, and there's no way to interact with minors without us inviting them to a space, a specific person that we know. And so that's what is great, is that you can people can sign up even if they're not students. They can sign up, use the curriculum, use anything, and there's no danger to that, because there's no way to connect in a bad way with students in that way without our explicit admin permissions. So yeah, but there will be that this can be used locally, using next to somebody, walking through the curriculum, watching videos. It doesn't have to be all online, but yeah. I will, and respect our time here. I think probably the final piece of it that might be helpful is just if you have a chance to go and actually register as on Follow the Call. And so if you haven't done that already, if you are, great, I'll be able to see your name. But basically how it works is that I'll be able to find you on here as someone who's recently signed up, and then we can invite you to the space from there. There you go, Stephanie, there you are. But it is important that as soon as possible, if you would just go, it takes about 25 seconds go on Follow the Call, sign up. In that way we can get everybody into this process. But yeah, I'm very excited. I'm so thankful that you guys wanted to hop on, and I'm willing to connect with students. This is something that I think will make a tangible difference in a lot of students who are, in the whirlwind of hearing what God is saying, and also being in their tangible life where everything's crazy, and they're middle schoolers and teenagers. And so I'm excited.
If I have an offline question, because I have some questions that I don't know anybody else is interested in, do I just email you, Santis and Clay? They're just about some groups that I think could be interested in participating, who are more in some marketplace multipliers, right? They're lay leaders who are administrating the marketplace. That I think they would really be interested in connecting with students who aren't called to vocational ministry or to missions. They're called to ministry in the marketplace. So just some of that kind of little conversation, if that's all right. And if this is an appropriate time in your development to have that conversation, just let me know.
Yeah, I think it is. I think as we move more into mentoring, that probably fits best for that group, that particular group. And we're willing to share this video, or we're willing to come, if there's a considerable number of people in that group, we're willing to come and do this with them in mind, so that there would be a very specific training for that group. But yeah,
I'll send you guys an email then, if that's all right.
Yeah,
we would love that. We would
love a
love
full inbox, right?
Yes, yes. And I just want to close. Thank you, Clay, for your leadership, and just the way you've kind of taken the bull by the horns, you and Tyler, and jumped in. And thank you for leading this training. As you can see, he's a gem and a great member of our team. And so most questions will come to both of us right now, but you're probably going to hear back from him as we process most of this. I want you to see him as the leader of this initiative, Follow the Call. So I hope that makes sense. Awesome. Well, you want to close us out in prayer, Clay?
be great. That'd be great. Lord Jesus, thank you for God, the ability to connect. And God, we live in a world which is sometimes scary with technology, how it progresses, but we are thankful for how your spirit moves at all times in history. And right now we are thankful for even this conversation that we can have in different spaces across the country and even across the world. So Jesus, would you fill us with your spirit as we go out, as we have the mundane conversations and the exciting conversations, and that ultimately students, wherever they are, would be filled up, would be encouraged, would be empowered, that they would be sent out, so that we would see your kingdom move, your kingdom come here and now. Jesus, we love you. We thank you for each of these people who are here. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, guys.